Kyle, do you ever question why a good deal of Americans all but hurl even just the sound of the word socialism? What is socialism really? What is so terrible about it that it causes so many Americans to show such disdain for it, while those who practice and advocate for it view it in such a positive sense? And how does it compare to the system we know and maybe love, capitalism? This is Arizona Weeks' video presentation. Democratic socialism is defined as a political economic system in which freedom and equality are balanced through the state's management of the economy and provision of social expenditures. Socialism is the very political ideology that advocates such a system. There is not just one form of socialism either, since it's a political ideology and can vary from country to country when it is incorporated into a political economic system. The term socialism has been used in a broad sense to describe a wide variety of political economic systems besides democratic socialism, which is the most common today, such as utopianism, anarchism, and one everyone knows, Soviet communism. What do these vastly different systems have in common? In one way or another, the community and the public control property and means of production to establish a better distribution of wealth and higher equality. All of these systems disapprove of unrestricted market economy, which is at the heart of opposing political ideology, liberalism, and its political economic system, capitalism. Liberalism is a political ideology that places a high priority on individual political and economic freedom and advocates limiting state power to foster and protect this freedom. It also emphasizes that individuals are better off taking responsibility for their own behavior and well-being, as well as the use of free markets and private property, aka capitalism. What could go wrong? One primary fear critics of socialism hold is the fear that the theory and the implemented system, whatever it may be, is a stepping stone to communism. As we know, capitalists believe that the weaker the government, the more the state is likely to prosper and create equality and freedom through prosperity. That very concept is thought to be threatened by any form of socialism for the fact that it involves a government having some or all ownerships of firms. Another aspect of democratic socialism that turns Americans off is taxation. Taxation tends to be higher in social democratic states like Sweden in comparison to the United States. Taxes alone are undesirable to many within the United States, but to know that taxes would be going to help better the lives of others to promote a more equal and equitable society would make many of the most hardcore capitalists and all libertarians heads pop. America is founded on the birth of liberalism and the individualist, nationalist idea rooted in that very foundation. It is not at all surprising that the idea working towards anyone other than your own's greater good would be ludicrous in the United States. Trust alone is a huge factor that would prevent the United States from implementing anything remotely close to the types of practices and expenditure and welfare programs that exist in social democratic states such as Sweden or Norway. There must be a significant amount of trust within the state given the massive allocation of money granted by taxes. How can we expect a country to view this system as anything less than naive when its foundation is based on fear of government control? How can we expect to be able to trust that the money given to the people is being given out correctly? The final reason that people are paying their fair share into it. The final reason that even the mention of the word socialism throws half of this country into a tizzy is the history and propaganda rooted in the word. It has been made a synonym for communism due to the multiple Red Scares in America and its negative connotation it gained from not being fully understood. One of the prime examples, besides its mention in the names of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and the National Socialist German Workers' Party, better known as the Nazi Party, is socialism in Venezuela. It's a form of socialism that was called Bolivarian socialism, and it was implemented by Hugo Chavez and failed due to the economic burdens it put on the state by their nationalist practices and paradoxical dependency on trade in the United States. This eventually led to the worsening conditions of national debt to try to maintain its subpar welfare systems. People can't help but bring up the failures of Venezuela, but fail to understand the distinction and differences between different forms of socialism overall. It's all known that there's massive rejection at the thought of socialist practices and programs, but one of the easiest way to explain the possible benevolence and even wide range of benefits of social democracies is describing the social democratic programs that are here in the United States and are used daily. Examples include the postal system, the Food and Drug Administration, the Department of Labor, the EPA, public school system, and countless more. Another is explaining the main benefits granted to those who reside in such political and economic systems. We know that the state of environment improves under social democratic rule, something that has become increasingly important regardless of how much climate change is debated. We also know that the United States has an enormous wealth gap that will only continue to grow unless something substantial is done about it. We also know that the melting pot structure of races in this country makes an entirely socially democratic system look unlikely, along with the lack of trust. But can we find ways to even get conversations going about this topic? That and correcting the massive information about socialism as a theory and the difference between its various economic systems is the first steps to even begin any kind of type of conversations, let alone a constructive one. Finally, we know that some balance between freedom and equality is key to a prosperous state, but to which is more important or even equally important is vastly debated and still continue to be. It's well known that there's massive rejection at the thought of socialist practices and programs, but one of the easiest way to explain the possible benevolence and even wide range of benefits. I gotta go get Indy.